powered by Sports Interaction, Canada Sportsbook.
My audio was off. Leafs fans, welcome to the inaugural episode of Game Over Toronto for the 2022-2023 season. My name's Harnish, and obviously I have my constant co-host Armaan here with me, and we're thrilled to be back for another full season of Game Over. Last year's playoffs were an absolute blast, and I cannot wait to get into the groove of things this season. But that's not all, folks. Today, we're introducing two of our newest members to the Game Over Toronto family. Chat, say hello to Fuad and Lauren. I'm so excited for you guys to get to know them better throughout this year. So let's start off with a little bit of intro.
I'll go first.
Yeah.
Are you going first? You go first.
You go ahead.
Okay. Starting out strong. Okay, so my name is Lauren. I live in Etobicoke. I've been a Leafs fan for as long as I can remember. My first memory of the Leafs is the 93 debacle. I actually brought it up at Thanksgiving this past weekend, and my father got very upset with me that I would bring such things up on a holiday. So
You're re-traumatizing your father.
Oh, absolutely. But so excited to be here, so excited to be a part of the team and to get things going this season.
Awesome. Well, hey guys, my name is Fuad. I've been a fan since around 2002. So just like tonight, we're going to start off with a little bit of heartbreak, since that ended with heartbreak, and this will begin with heartbreak. It's a full circle, isn't it? It's a flat circle, rather. So I've trying to get into this industry for a long time. I did Gillette Drafted, the score, back in like 2012, if anybody remembers that. I did the Much Music VJ search, and I was on Much On Demand once. RIP Much On Demand, but here we are for SDPN, Game Over Toronto. Let's air some grievances, folks. Let's air some grievances.
Festivus is coming early, guys.
That's
is
it.
coming early.
You got a lot of problems with this team, and now you're going to hear about it.
Yeah, that was a bit of a weird game to cover for your first one, eh?
We should just cover the first two periods.
You guys got thrown to the wolves. Dude, I was ready for all the memes against Andrew. I was like, all right, let's get our fans to bombard the Game Over Montreal chat. But no, it had to be this way, eh, for the Leafs.
Honestly, that was like probably one of our worst first games in quite a few seasons.
In a while.
Yeah,
sure.
We've started off strong pretty frequently over the past few years. But yeah, that was just a mess overall.
Maybe it's a sign of change.
Well,
it's like the ghost of Mike Babcock came in there. You remember Mike Babcock used to say, you got to start on time. You got to start on time. Where is he now? He is sitting somewhere in Saskatchewan hunting and laughing at this right now. It's like, I told you,
Brutal.
I told you these folks don't let them start on time.
I mean, they did sort of start on time. With the
They just
penalties,
couldn't
they started
end
on
up.
time. They started taking penalties on time, right?
Started taking
That was
penalties on
good.
time. Yeah. I mean, I was really hopeful. I thought, Matt Murray, he's the one guy. I had this irrational hope for Matt Murray because I'm like, he won 2 cups in Pittsburgh. I'm like, you can't just win 2 cups and be bad. And I also think he's the same age as me. And I'm not old yet, so he cannot be washed up yet. So that's my logic, probably flawed logic. However, I saw him. I'm like, he looks solid. He looks really good.
That first period, he was
looked
really good
He
in the
was
first
solid.
period.
Lights
We'll
up.
get into we'll get into the game, but first, we have a great show lined up for you guys. We'll talk about the game. We'll talk about some other topics, but first, let's talk about our sponsor, Sports Interaction. Sports Interaction. Want to bet? You can do it at Sports Interaction, Canada Sportsbook. Football is back, baseball playoffs, and hockey season is underway. But bet pregame, live in play, or on one of our many prop bets. Made for Canadians, by Canadians. Sports Attraction makes it easy to deposit, play, and cash out. Join now and see all sports betting has to offer. Head to sportsinteraction.com/SDPN. That's sportsinteraction.com/SDPN. Ontario only, 19 and older, and please play responsibly. Now, we already kind of got into the game a little bit, but what a whirlwind of a game, right? The Leafs lose 3-2 against the Habs in the first game of our season, right? And a disappointing one in that itself as well, right? We started off the game honestly not bad, but Murray was kind of saving us, and when he wasn't playing like Superman, we kind of got to see what happens, right?
He was suddenly
Yeah.
not saving us.
Yeah.
Suddenly not saving this. Yeah,
Yeah.
I mean, I was saying this earlier in the chat. I'm like, how many Leafs goalies have we just burned out? Like, I mean, obviously Freddie Anderson towards the end would burn out, and then Jack Campbell, he had that like Terminator October, and then the rest he's just like, I'm done with you guys. I can't deal with this. Is this like a one game? Did we just burn him out 2 periods and that's it? I don't know.
Yeah, it's just the first game, so I'm not gonna overreact too much. But
that's what we do. We we have to.
Yeah, it was like he had such a promising start, but then that I think it was the second Caulfield goal. I think that was the start of when I noticed him, his high glove. That was a huge weakness for him for pretty much the entire game. But the issue is like we didn't make his life any easier, at all. Our defensive transition was horrible that entire game. The amount of times we turned it over in the offensive zone and we just didn't have any sort of speed to come back to defend the rush. They had way too many high danger chances, and it ended up costing us pretty hardcore. And even just taking out that last 3 or 4 minutes in the third period where it was just chaos, that was just they outplayed us the entire game. They
tried us. Even they were hungry for it, and we just weren't today, apparently. At least not in the third period, right?
Yeah, exactly. And it's I get that they're a younger and faster team, but if that's our weakness and it can be exposed that easily,
going to be a long season.
We gotta. That was just a sloppy game overall. Especially from our stars. I expected a lot more from them. There was a power play in the third period where they were on for the first minute and we couldn't string a pass.
Nothing.
We couldn't string anything together. We couldn't hold the zone. We couldn't string a pass.
It was just the passing. Just the passing.
Isn't that crazy though? Because in the second and the first, our power play looked great. To be honest, it looked like that was one of our strong suits, right? And
Matthews pinged one off the post.
Exactly.
On the power play, yeah.
I was sure. I was sure that was in. I was sure. Because you've seen it so many times. It's just like, and then it was not. And I'm like, oh, okay. You're used to seeing that miss, but it missed. But
there was a lot of near goals tonight for the Leafs for sure. But near goals aren't goals. Near goals are not goals.
Yeah, even Malkin's breakaway right before Caulfield scores his second. Like that could have changed the tide completely as well. But yeah, that's the way it goes, The
second Caulfield goal just took all the steam out of all the steam out of the room for the Leafs for sure. It was rough. And in the first period, there was a couple plays where it was in the Leafs zone, right at the blue line, and they were up against the boards, and the Habs just kept it in. There was no push to get it out. It was just they couldn't clear it. They could not get it out of their zone to save their life. It was brutal to watch a couple times.
How many times have we seen this? I feel like I've seen this same game like this all the time for the last 6-7 years. It's been the same since this whole core was put together. We have the same conversation about these games where, they're playing, what should be an inferior opponent talent wise, but it's the NHL. There's no easy outs. But, how many times have we said, they can't clear the zone. They're getting outshot. They're getting outworked. It's like, you guys have serious offensive talent. How are you not dominating? How are you not just getting after it and holding on to the game and dominating the game? I mean, there's not a lot of easy outs in the NHL right now. I mean, you look at the schedule upcoming, there's a lot of tough teams. You got Washington next. You got the suddenly pretty plucky Sens. I mean, is this a case of them just underestimating an inferior opponent and then they're just going to come out and win 5-0 tomorrow? Probably.
Could be. That's Leafs hockey.
The Leafs don't make any sense. They just don't make sense. So that might be the case.
And speaking of the stupid mistake, it shouldn't be coming from guys like Muzzin and Hall, which I think was the worst defensive pairing, for either team throughout that entire game.
Yeah.
That those guys are veterans, and Hall could not handle the puck. He had 3 bobbles that were defensive zone turnovers that resulted in chances in the first period alone. And then the very last goal that the Habs scored with 18 seconds to go, Muzzin had it on his stick and he had an easy clear and he just passes it directly to him.
And then he just
tape to tape.
It was
Tape the tape.
Yeah. You're a veteran in this league. You've won a cup. That is never a play you make with 17 seconds to go as a defenseman with an easy clear. He just straight to him. Where was he going with that pass? Like, why are you even trying to break out there? Just get it down.
There were some really bad attempted passes that were just, I don't know if they were just errant or flippant or a combination of both, or they just thought that they had a clear path. But there was at least, like you said, a dozen in the first period between Tavares, Muzzin, Hall. There was a whole bunch of people that it was like, who are you passing to? They have red on their jerseys. I know they're blue and white, but there's red.
And
a lot of red.
That's not indicative of a playoff team, right? I guess I understand this is the first game of the season, but come on, man, that was disappointing, and it was embarrassing. It was embarrassing to see them out.
We can chalk it up to just being like game one, which I think is fair to say. Like, it's the first game of an 82 game season. They have a lot of, leeway to figure it out. But at the same time, these are mistakes that you wouldn't expect from, these players. You have, the camp is long, the preseason is it's 7 games. You should be in game shape game one.
Yeah, and we played against Montreal during those preseason games as well. It's not like we're playing a new
in the preseason. The Habs went winless, and we were fine. Like, it's not an
like
issue.
What happened?
Didn't have like a good they looked fine in preseason. What happened here?
And
why
also,
in game one, do you look like you can't make a simple pass?
I mean, this is not just this season thing. Like I was saying, I mean, like the same, like that. What's that Taylor Swift thing where it's like, I've seen this movie before. If that's not Taylor Swift, I'm very sorry to everybody who's a fan of Taylor Swift. But you've seen this movie before. It's like the exact same thing. Like, I've seen this game a few times, like as many times as possible, where it was just being outworked, being outplayed, and horrific mistake. Game over. Toronto.
Hey,
hey.
I see what you did there.
I'm in mid-season form.
Hopefully all can follow along soon.
What I will say, like, on the positives, I think there was a few people who I thought had good games, like Dennis Malkin.
Dennis Malkin.
Dennis Malkin. I am score. I thought he had a fantastic game.
He could have had 2 on that breakaway too, right before the Caulfield goal.
It's close.
And he had 8 games, as a Leaf in 2 seasons ago, I want to say. And then I think everyone kind of wrote him off because he was pointless in that, and he didn't look all too good. But keep in mind, he was also quite a bit younger, and also I know that he was traded for Mason Marchment, and Marchment went off to have a very good breakout season last year. So everyone's kind of like, what a shit trade. But at the same time, like, don't hold that against Mulligan. I think Mulligan had a great preseason, and he had a great first game as well. And he was one of the few that I think consistently was great throughout. And for his size, he was playing physically. He was taking checks to make good plays, and he was, he scored off of a crash to the net. And then he also had a breakaway and hit the post. So that's the one bright spot. I think other newcomers also had pretty solid games as well. So like Calle Yarncroke, and Sandin on the right side, I thought also was a positive. I was not expecting him to be as good as he was. He was one of the few defensemen that I thought actually had a good game.
Go ahead.
Yeah. So these I mean, that's one thing that I noticed that I was putting down when I thought the game was going our way was, the depth pieces. Like, first of all, Michael Bunting, fantastic first goal, really crashing the net, really showing he's kind of the muscle behind that superstar line. And then, like you said, Dennis Mulligan, it's one of those things that, that's kind of what separates in this cap league. It's what separates, the winners and losers, is having these depth guys show up. That's been something that's plagued the Leafs for a long time, going to the playoffs, and then the core 4 kind of get a little stifled, and then nobody else can help. So, you get that going, and then, if you get those periphery guys going, I mean, the team is like a junior chicken under the cap rather. So like they got no room.
Yeah.
So these guys,
like $4.
$4 might be more than a junior chicken, but junior chicken might be more. Somebody got to check that for me, but
no, you're good with $4 for junior chicken.
Right. So what I'm trying to say is that, you need these guys that are paid peanuts to show up.
Yeah.
Now, Michael Bunting probably won't be paid peanuts and that's another story for another game over, because
you got to bring that up game 1, huh?
Oh yeah.
We're talking about next year's contracts. Let's go.
That's it. You know what? We're Leafs fans. We have to be paranoid. We have to borrow trouble. That's what we have to do. Borrow trouble from the future. That's what we must do.
Yeah, but for sure, like the value that we can get from some of those league min contracts or under $1 million contracts is pretty big. And I know, like, before, the season, Keefe pointed out Gaudette as one of those guys that could potentially be this year's Michael Bunting, and then Gaudette had a horrible preseason and didn't even make the starting lineup. And Mulligan is looking more like that guy right now. It's been one game and 8 preseason games, so it's not a big sample, but promising start for him. And you love to see that when he's at a salary of like whatever it was, I think $750K right now, actually league min. So yeah, that was the one positive that I had. I thought Murray looked good in the first period, and then that positive went crashing down as the game went on. Yeah,
But
so
we can't blame I guess like Murray too much on that, right? Like we mentioned, right? He didn't have any help up front. But honestly, this is a really good position for the Leafs to be in right now, because Samsonov looked great in the preseason as well. So having some kind of competition in net is always a positive, especially if we look at last season, right? Where
I would like the competition to be when they're playing well, though. I don't want because Murray's not playing his
exactly,
best.
but
you are less bad.
Yeah.
Exactly.
But he did have he was a positive for like the first 2 periods, right?
Yeah.
So
he had a really steady first period. Yeah.
exactly. I still
Goaltending's
see a lot of
objectively
positive in there. Yeah.
And goaltending is like weird. It's very hard to predict. Murray on it, like last year, we didn't have good goaltending for every month other than November, and we were still winning games. I think this Leafs team has managed to win with bad goaltending before, and I don't think it can really be that much worse, outside of November and the playoffs where Campbell Act performed perfectly fine. But we had like under 900 goaltending for the rest of the season, pretty much, which is, I expect better from Murray. Like, I don't think he's going to be an under 900 goaltender, and I don't expect Samsonov to be an under 900 goaltender either. So
yeah,
I
think
average, baby, league average. Just
yeah,
give us
like
average.
get us league average, and we can work around that.
C's get degrees. That's what we need for goaltenders. Okay.
Yeah.
C's get degrees. That's all we
like
need.
I'm not too worried about this Leafs team just from this first game.
No.
But it was just way too chaotic from a team that should have everying figured out by now.
I hope they get bag skated tomorrow.
Yeah, exactly. That's the thing. And they're playing tomorrow. So it's gonna be a situation where, like,
maybe not then.
So
like that has
Friday bag skate.
It's I don't think it's time that everyone's I don't think it's time to start like hashtagging trade people yet, but it's definitely not a promising first game when it looked like that. Even when we were winning, I wasn't confident at all. They just looked sloppy. It was really sloppy.
I think that was just the name of the game, though. Just the sloppiness, right? Like, it didn't seem like they were getting outplayed or anything. It just seemed like they were just giving away stupid pucks. They were just not collecting it correctly. And these are things that they can fix. These aren't things that require them to go straight back to the drawing board. It's honestly just like drilling them until they get it in their head, right? It's more of an effort than anything else.
Yeah. And like, another point to that supports that is the penalties that we were getting. Ozone to start off, and then neutral zone for the next one. That were both like interference.
The Leafs 5?
I have no idea.
Or
I think
6.
it's 4 or 5. I think. Oh,
it was a lot.
Yeah, it was a lot.
There was 3 in the first period.
Yeah,
right.
Three in the first period, and
then
all
1
of them
and 1
were pretty egregious. Like, they weren't egregious to the point.
Definitely penalties, but
definitely
at one
penalties,
point I
but-
was like, okay.
Yeah.
Hey, the refs are setting the precedent only to throw it out the window when it actually
playoffs,
matters
yeah.
again.
Are you guys saying they should even the
Usual.
game out? Is that what you're saying?
No.
3-3, gotta get Montreal some penalties, leave some penalties, keep it even, like they're saying now. Get Tim Peel back. Let's do it. Let's get Tim Peel back again.
Let's not.
That's not.
But yeah, like the penalties that we were taking were just a bit lazy, I would say. They were getting in the way of people who have you beat, like the Giordano penalty in the very first one, where he kind of just didn't have the speed to get back and just cut off the guy. And it's like, like we said, early season, the refs are going to call that. This is when they decide that they're going to be strict, and then they'll lose that later on. But you just can't be making those mistakes. They're very dumb mistakes that we were making that were being made from veterans in the league.
Yeah.
I do want to see that the PK did look fairly decent in
Yeah,
the
it
first
did.
period. Like
They really
I
did.
was pleasantly surprised even with the amount of penalties that they were getting. There was like the penalty kill itself was fairly good. Zach
Yeah.
Aston-Reese
Zach
and Mulligan
Aston-Reese.
were both like being super aggressive with the D-man at the blue line and everything, which is
Yep.
great. And
I really liked Yarn Croak on the penalty kill as well.
all the new guys on the PK looked fantastic. They were getting up in people's grills. They weren't just doing the L1 stick swing. Like they're actually like
Stick
going up
swing.
in their faces, right? Like that's what you need. This isn't threatening. What is this?
To be fair, when I played NHL, I used to just the only way I would play defense is check.
Yeah.
So that's the
Just
only way
throw
I play
bodies.
defense. That's it. I mean, that's
I use the L1 R1 all the time. I
Oh,
love
me
that.
too.
I love that move. Like
Oh,
when
yeah.
Sandine took his penalty and he just like dove right
Yeah.
at the guy and
He was
tripped him.
doing the Brody
That's
slide.
my move. Yeah, that's my
Yeah.
move right there. Just dive right into their skates and take the
Muzzin did that move too. It's like he taught the guys over the summer to be like, hey, let's all learn this together. Because Brody is the king of the full
Yeah.
body backward slide. Like he's so good at it.
Yeah,
It
and
seems
he
like
always
he's
gets
taught
the puck.
everybody else how to do it, which I'm totally fine with.
Yeah.
But you think, if this penalty kill can be good, if you have a good unit here, then it'll actually allow them to play more aggressively. That they can actually, get in the corners and be a little bit more risky and just show a little more fight, a little more sandpaper, a little more truculence, as they say.
Yeah.
So that might help. If you have a good penalty kill, you can lean back on. Solid goaltending, you can have more bravado with that way, more truculence, as Brian Burke would say.
Well, and one
Yeah.
of the things about the PK last year was that they had Mikheyev on the PK, who is super great. Like,
was great.
Congratulations, Vancouver, for getting that guy. He's so useful. His shot is it's a dice roll, but that's fine. But he was great at getting behind the other team on the PK and going up the ice, almost like Kasperi Kapanen. Now
Yeah.
he got more goals than Kasperi Kapanen doing that, but if
yeah.
we can have a guy on either the PKs that can have that burst of speed and get out behind the Montreal defender on the PK, we could be one of the top, shorthanded goal scoring teams in the league again, which we were a couple years ago, right?
Yeah. And to add to that, like speed was an issue this game. We often did and we did this last year as well. We did like a 4 deep in the offensive zone. So the defenseman kind of goes deeper and then you're supposed to have a forward cut up and, cover the
Circle back.
defenseman. Yeah. But we never had, we got caught quite a bit with 4 D-men deep or 4 players deep. And then we just didn't have any sort of speed to get back. And Mikheyev is an example of a guy who always got back.
Every time.
Offensive zone
Every time.
turnover, whatever it was, he got back. And
Not with the puck, without the puck.
Without
with
the
the
puck.
puck, it was slower, but
Yeah.
without the puck, it was a machine. It was awesome.
yeah, exactly. And like losing that, we need to have some, because I don't know what it is, but our defensemen are just slow. Like even Riley, who's someone who's really good on the rush, isn't the fastest straight line speed guy, and Brody's always back, so I never have to worry about him. But Muzzin and Hall both are fairly slow. Giordano is obviously slow. He's like 50 years old. And then you have Sandine. And so you have like 2 guys who, can back check well when it's an offensive zone turnover, right?
You hope Littlegram would be that guy, to
that's what I was
slot
gonna
in
say.
for Justin Hall, to just
Yeah.
give a little bit more speed, a little more youth on that back end.
Yeah,
But,
for sure. Littlegram can mitigate that, but it was like very evident. And it's weird because we just couldn't. I thought this was a bad game for Keefe as well, because we could not adapt on the fly to the Montreal system because we just kept on turning it over and they just kept on getting the same type of chances, like that rush chance, the 2-on-1s.
Oh,
just
it was a parade. It was a parade.
There was a
It
couple
parade.
3-on-1s as well. Like,
yeah.
even
and the
though we
last-
did some line mixing, it was just like,
like
everybody was
3-on-3.
just like, there was just feathers in the air. It was just chaos.
I
yeah,
thought it was 3-on-3 overtime. Like, did they change the rules? It was like, I was almost excited. I'm like, yeah, 3-on-3, let's do it. But yeah, that's what it felt like. It felt like just ping pong, back and forth.
Yeah,
Mhm.
like the lack of speed is probably the biggest concern for me coming from this game, because it's game 1. I expect those what's it called, those
Things to
turnovers
behind
and the
it.
sloppy passing to
Yeah.
get better over time,
Mhm.
but I don't expect their speed to get better over time. And so if that's getting exposed game 1, that's my biggest concern for, like, personally, is just Montreal is not the only fast team that's young. There's a lot of fast teams that are young. That's sort of the way a lot of teams play now. And if we're getting beat on the rush like that so easily, like
especially on defense, like
Mhm.
that's a bit scary to watch, right?
Yeah, like the defenseman is the issue that I have. Like I thought like our bottom 6 guys on forwards, I thought they all actually had individually okay games, like Jaren Krok, Ob Kubel, Zach Aston-Reese, who else? Engvall, I thought had a pretty good game. Yeah, they all had good games. And so it was just the defenseman that I kept on noticing either fumbling the puck or not being there and having an odd man rush. And it's just like, we can't do anything if our defensive transition is going to be that poor, you know? Like, it's definitely something that I want to see better executed tomorrow. So hopefully it is.
That's the beauty of the game. There's always tomorrow, and there's a game tomorrow, so we could be back on this stream and saying, let's go, plan the parade, everything's good. So that's just hockey for you. So we hope that tomorrow we'll see a better effort. We probably will be, because Washington's a better team and the Leafs just don't make a lot of sense that way.
Yeah, they won't play down to their opponent.
They're just going to show up.
Yeah,
it just gets shelled.
Are we going to see Samsonov tomorrow?
Yeah, for
I would.
sure.
I would.
Yeah.
think so,
I would
yeah.
100% bet on
It's his former
Samsonov.
team. Yeah.
That's
There
gonna be
was a-
interesting to see as well. I think that's gonna be key.
Yeah.
Because right now it's kind of a shoo-in where Matt Murray was the number 1 guy, right? So seeing Samsonov have a chance to take over that position, that's gonna create a lot of fun heat in that goaltending position, right? So we'll see what flourishes out of that.
If Samsonov only lets in like 1 goal or gets a shutout tomorrow,
Mhm.
He's starting the next game.
you
Hot
know,
takes,
we
hot
all of a
takes.
sudden like, so what if we put Murray on long-term injury reserve and like or something? You know what I mean? All of a sudden we're like, all of us have our hands in the pot stirring it.
You got to
Yeah.
call Lou Lamoriello back for that. You know, you got to call
Please
Yeah.
no.
him.
Yeah, I think Murray's probably got the starter spot, but it's definitely a short leash. Like I think they always had Samsonov there as a potential, 1A guy. I think they had faith in him. And he's young and he can easily find that. So I'm kind of hoping he has a good game tomorrow so that we can create some goalie controversy for us, and we can, talk
Fire
about
the hot takes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Cautiously optimistic about tomorrow, right? Cautiously optimistic.
Cautiously
It'll be better
optimistic.
tomorrow. It's fine.
I mean, I was so hyped with the preseason. We were looking so good. And then,
That's the thing. Never get
the
your hopes
winless
up high.
Montreal Canadiens in preseason come out and they just look so much better. And
Yeah.
it's sad. Yeah.
The preseason might as well be a volleyball tournament.
Yeah, I know. I know it doesn't mean anything.
They look
but still,
athletic.
like, yeah.
Yeah.
Just throw in the
brutal.
young guns, let them have some fun. But speaking
Yeah.
of hot takes, since this is the first episode of the season, let's do some quick predictions. I want to see some hot takes and see what you guys think could happen as the season goes on. Who do you think, I guess, like is going to be our top goal scorer? Who do you think is going to make it into the lineup? Who do you have some eyes on? Who do you think is going to break out? What do you guys have? I'm thinking, in my mind, I think that Matthews is going to hit that 70 goal season. I think.
I don't think that.
Ooh,
That
You,
doesn't-
hey,
that was a
you never
spicy
know.
bet.
I
Listen,
don't think that's happening. But
listen.
I will say he's going to
It's
hit
possible.
60 again.
I think he's
No,
gonna hit
okay.
60 again.
Last 60. See, like I
Dude,
think
70 is
last
insane.
season
He
he
would have
could
to
have hit
play-
70 though. Think about it. Those 9 games in the beginning of the season where he went, I
but
think he got like 1
he's
goal
gonna
in
have
those
But he
9
didn't
games.
score in the first game this
Yeah.
season.
Yeah,
You gotta
Yeah,
give him that
but game 2, that's where he gets it off.
Yeah, no, I
That's
don't think
my
he's hitting
spicy
70.
take for the season. I think he's gonna get 70 goals.
That is
I- That is very spicy. I don't. That'd be insane. That would be
That's
one of the
3
best
chili
seasons
spice
to
for
play.
sure. 3
Oh.
chili spice.
I think that would be
Yes.
that would be what
Hey.
the best season goal scoring wise since Solani's like rookie season.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Somebody's got to check that. Maybe not. Maybe a Brett Hall. We have to ask somebody to check that for us.
I think
but-
Solani. was
Ask-
out.
someone ask
I have no
Steve.
idea. But anyway,
Someone ask
Someone
Steve.
ask
Yeah.
Steve.
that would be insane. That would be like easily the best season of the Cap era. So
Exactly.
I admire the faith in our team. My hot take, or not necessarily hot take, my prediction is that the Leafs will win the Atlantic. That's what I'll say. I think it's very doable. This game did not inspire much confidence in that take, but but I still believe in it.
Standing by it. I love it.
I think Boston, they lost. They don't have Marchand. They had a really good game today though, but they don't have Marchand for a while, and they don't have McAvoy, and they're running with quite a few injuries. So I think that'll falter them. And then I think the Panthers just got worse a little over the summer with the Huberdeau trade and losing Uyghur for Kachuk. And then I'm just kind of hoping we beat Tampa. But I think it's actually possible that we win the Atlantic for like the first time, and we can actually, be the best in the regular season at least, and then fingers crossed for the playoffs. But that's my hot take. That's my prediction.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Oh, go ahead. Go ahead. This time you go ahead. I said
okay, fair enough. My hot take is I think they're going to win the East, not only the Atlantic. I think they're going to win the East. I think they're going to win the East. I think it might be the Oilers in the West or the Avs. I also think that there is I don't want to say a percentage, but I think that there is a universe.
We're here for the spiciness.
I think that there's a universe that Boston doesn't make the playoffs.
Oh, who do you think would go in instead? Don't say the Sens.
No, I think it might be Buffalo.
Oh, okay.
And like think about how much Buffalo gave Toronto the yips last year. They couldn't beat them. It was ridiculous. And last year they weren't good, but they weren't as bad as everybody was expecting them to be. Tage Thompson has like decided that he's a star player now. I don't know where that came from, but it's a thing now apparently. So yeah, I think Toronto's going to win the East, and I think that Boston's not going to make the playoffs.
All right, Fawad.
Yeah,
now
please.
You got to say that the Leafs are going to win the President's Trophy. We'll just one up each other every time.
I'm not going to say that because that will mean they will lose in the thing. Also, I hope to God we don't see Buffalo in the playoffs and making the playoffs and facing us, because that will just be torture.
To be clear, I don't want that. I just what's going to happen, because that's what I don't want to happen. That's what's going to happen.
That's the way we think, anxiety brain, right? Leaf fans, we have the collective anxiety brain. Okay, so my hot take. So Kyle Dubas is a man without a contract. This is his year. He's got some assets in his pocket. He's thinking, I think the Leafs might pull off a big trade. I think this is the year because he's.
Do you think they pulled off before
with one of the core four?
No, I think. You know what I think? I think they might go for Patrick Kane.
Oh, and do you think it's before the trade deadline?
With what money?
Retention. They'll figure it out.
Yeah. Well, we got our AGM for that. We got
sounds like a problem for Brandon Pridham. Sounds like a problem for Brandon Pridham.
Just fudge the numbers, do some creative accounting, and then get him on there. Now I feel like there will be a big move at the deadline. I feel like they're going to do one of those all-in moves. I don't know.
Mm-hmm.
Patrick Kane just is the one that comes to mind, but there's always a team that falters. I think there's going to be a big move. I think because Dubas is like, that's it. This is my last year here. Go out with a blaze of glory.
You go all in.
And listen, even if he gets fired, there's not 32 GMs better than him. He'll get a job tomorrow. You know what I'm saying? So if I'm in his position, I would do the same thing.
Mm-hmm. All right. Well, make sure the fans, make sure you clip it, make sure you send it to us, and let's see.
And hold us accountable on game 82.
Yeah, exactly. My 70 goals, I am telling you,
all
it's a guarantee.
will come correct.
Aggregate it all.
Yeah.
Matthews will have 70 from Patrick Kane feeding him as we cruise the East.
Hey,
only to face Buffalo.
Come at me right now. I want to hear all the hot takes. I want to hear all the smoke. Give me all the smoke. I'm ready for it.
Yeah. Well, that's gonna do it here for us. Thank you to everyone for watching. This has been a blast. Make sure you like, comment, and subscribe. And hey, shoot us some tweets. Let us know what your hot takes are for the season. We'd love to hear from you. And make sure you hit the bell icon to get a notification. As we mentioned, we're going to be here live tomorrow, breaking down game 2. Hopefully it goes better than today, but we'll see how it goes. We'll see. With the Leafs, you can never be sure at this point. As always. Yeah, exactly. Just shoot it out there, see what happens. As always, my name's Harnish. We have Armaan, Fawad, and Lauren. Make sure to follow these two. We love having you guys here. And yeah, we'll see you guys soon. Peace.